Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, the local minister at the Prince George's Church of Christ, located at 7800 Central Avenue in Landover, Maryland. Throughout the week, we've looked at a very simplistic topic, simply dealing with adult transitions. We've talked about adult transitions as it relates to just defining the different phases from dependent to independency. We looked yesterday at adult transitions, moving from childhood into single living, sort of venturing out on one's own. And today we will spend our time looking at adult transitions from single living to married life. Very simplistic lesson, but when we talk about two becoming one or becoming united in matrimony, what does that mean? The transitioning into marriage, although it's exciting and it's filled with adjustments, we cannot overlook the adjustments. Many times people talk about the thrill of matrimony, the plans of marriage, the honeymoon, the wedding party, all of that. And all of that is great, but very little attention is really paid to what is this transition really like. The chief adjustment is figuring out how to merge two people in one. That's the real challenge that many couples fail to understand and honestly fail to properly navigate. So what does it mean two becoming one? What are you assimilating together? Two histories of life. Two histories of God, yet potentially of the same faith. This is intriguing. Two people can share the same church, the same faith, and yet have two histories of God that when the two get into a marital relationship, it can cause conflict. One of the best illustrations I have of that is something that we do at the Prince George's Church of Christ. We only have one worship service, 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. But what if a family history is we have two worship services? We only have one. What if the family history of the person you're marrying wasn't to attend the morning worship? They only attended the evening worship. But now you are in a congregation that only has a 10 a.m. worship. Two histories of how we handle God, yet potentially from the same faith. And that's part of that assimilation, the merging together. Two ways of problem solving. How do you handle problems in your life? How do they handle problems in their lives? Many people can become very, very stressed and very, very agitated about problems in life. And other individuals just kind of calm and, this is a situation, but I don't think the ship is going to sink. And that can really cause conflict because the individual that is very high key will sometimes translate the person who is low key into they're not concerned about this. Almost like Jesus with his disciples. Lord, don't you care that we're going to drown? And the Lord was saying, absolutely, I care. But I'm the Lord and you're the disciple. And the way you handle problems and the way I handle problems are quite differently. But when two become one into a marriage, the same thing basically happens. Two ways of defining social life. Some people will come from a background to where it's just the what I call unhealthy, but the enmeshed family. Everything centers around the enmeshment of the family. Other individuals come from a family where the more the better. And now you're two becoming one. How do you blend that together? Uh, Thanksgiving just passed. One family comes from a history of we don't eat pork. Another family comes from a history of we only eat seafood. How do you assimilate that together in a healthy manner? These are the dynamics, believe it or not, that can become very complex if individuals are not able to navigate them when the two move from their own individual single lives into now we're married. Another component of social life is when people are single, they basically can go wherever they want to, when they want to, with whom they want to. But then once the marriage takes place, life becomes more accountable to the individual as well as to their spouse. You can't just get up and say, I'm going on vacation, I'll see you when I get back. Now you've got to determine we're going on vacation. I'm going to have a night out with the guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning. No, you've got a wife at home. Financially, it is a little bit different. I can't go out and buy the biggest, I don't know, whatever, and come home and say, honey, look at what I bought. The two have to become assimilated and merge more healthy into one. I wanted to share with you some Old and New Testament passages that I think help clarify this better than I can articulate it. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 5, when a man has taken a new wife, there were some expectations from heaven. One, he shall not go to war. Two, he should not be charged with new business. Why? Because he must be free at home. Free, what do you mean? Not having the mental stressors, not having the encumbrances of, well, I've got to handle this business over here, or I've got my military obligations. No, this is from God. So he can be mentally clear, alert. His mind is not stressed. So he shall be free at home for 1 year and bring happiness to his wife, who he has taken away from her environment and taken to become one with him. He's taken her from what's familiar. And biblically, what we're learning is it takes about 1 year to settle into that newfound environment. Ephesians 5, verse 25, these are more familiar passages. Husbands, love your wives, just like Christ also loved, or just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. The operative in this verse is he freely gave. He wasn't forced. He willfully, because of the love, the unconditional love, Christ surrendered his will to make sure that the will of the Father was completed. Colossians 3, verse 19 is very much similar to the text of Ephesians 5, verse number 25. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter toward them. That word bitter is the operative in this verse. It's like feces, body waste, something you don't want to be around, dung. Do not see your spouse as something that causes your nose to draw up, for you to always be bitter in a frown, anxious about. Now, another similarity between the text of Ephesians 5, verse 25, and Colossians 3, verse 19, in terms of now marriage, it is a command. Husbands, you love your wives. Husbands, you love your wives. Well, I don't love her. Men should figure that out before they marry her. There are things that we should figure out before the fact. As a clinician, this is what I will tell you. Most of the time, people have already figured it out, but they're infatuated with the idea of this person. But back in the depths of their psyche, it will amaze you what people have already figured out. But oftentimes it is ignored. And finally, 1 Peter 3, verse 1. Likewise, you wives, be in an orderly manner. The King James uses the term in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may, without the word, be won by the conversation or the way the person conduct themselves. So what's good for the husband is good for the wife. She is given the directives from heaven to be in an orderly manner. Well, no man can make me, no man should make you. I don't listen to what men say, but we're supposed to listen to what God says. I've never listened to a man in my life. Well, if you want to be in a marriage, you probably need to listen to what God has to say. And that's why Peter is given by inspiration those words. You wives, you be in an orderly manner. Not your husbands make you be, not your husbands force you to be, but if you're going to be in this relationship called marriage, then it is up to you to conduct yourselves in a marriage expected way. Be sure to come back for our next class that I think will be even more exciting. We're going to talk about parenting. We've moved from single life to married life, and we'll next talk about parenting. I look forward to seeing you back in class. Don't be late and don't skip class.